Okay.
Thank you, Labitza. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Environment, Forestry, and Trails Committee meeting for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. I'll call the meeting to order. I'm calling the meeting to order because our chair, who was Councillor Jeff Marshall, has resigned from council for reasons of work-related reasons. And so the first order of business of today's meeting is to appoint a new chair. I'll chair the meeting until we get to the point where we've appointed the chair, and then we'll ask for a 5 or 10 minute speech from the new chair. And then we'll move into committee business. I try to say that with straight face. Thank you, Don, for your assistance with that. So I'm going to call nominations for the position of chair. I'll call nominations 3 times to make sure everyone has an opportunity to exercise their options. So I'll ask for nominations for the position of chair of the committee. Rita Christie.
I'd like to nominate Hannah.
So we have a nomination of Hannah Can for the chair. This is the second call for nominations. Is there a second nomination for the position of chair? And I will call for a third and final time for nominations for the position of chair of the committee. No further nominations received. Hannah, are you prepared to put your name forward?
Tentatively, yes. I would be honored to take on the role.
Okay, thanks very much, Hannah. And if that's the case, then I'll declare Hannah the chair of the committee, and we're going to turn the chair over. In the interest of time, we're going to spare you the 15-minute speech today, Hannah, but we'll expect one in the future sometime.
Good enough.
So Hannah, we're on agenda item 3. This puts this extra pressure on you. Sorry to surprise you with this, but we're on agenda item 3 and the meeting's all yours.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Welcome to Councillor Murray Rose, who just signed on. Thank you for joining our committee. Do you want to say a welcome hello?
Doesn't have his audio on yet.
We're working on Murray. We're connecting him to audio, but thank you. That's a great idea, Hannah. So just give him a moment to get connected. Councillor Rose, do you hear us? Not yet. Maybe you want to do that after another agenda item, Hannah.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll move on to item number 3, which is the confirmation of the agenda for today. Does anybody have any questions about the agenda package? Have you all been able to see the package? Yes, we'll nod if we've said yes. Great. Okay, so we'll move to accept today's agenda. All in favor?
Sure.
Wonderful. Great. Okay, so number 4, disclosure.
Sorry, Hannah.
Oh.
Hannah, so sorry. We need a mover and a seconder for the acceptance of the agenda.
Of course. So would someone like to move for this agenda? Patty, and second, Anne? Great, thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to item number 4, a disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have anything that they would like to disclose? No? Okay, seeing nothing, we'll move to accept that. Jeff, and a second, Marie?
Okay, I got to stop you for a second. I can't make a motion, but so I got my hand up at a bad time there. So we'll get a mover and a seconder from committee members, and you got Marie. And then I just wanted to mention that you can then introduce Councillor Rose, and I'll leave my camera off and behave from here on. I promise.
Wonderful, great. Okay, so the seconder on that was Rita. So I would like to take a moment here to welcome Murray Rose to our committee. Thank you for joining us today, and I'd like you to have the opportunity to introduce yourself and to discuss why you're interested in our Environment Forestry Trails Committee. Murray, do you want to introduce yourself?
Apparently not.
Okay, well,
Just be a moment.
I don't think he's hearing you well. So
oh,
Did I send Jerry over?
Good idea.
okay, so should we move on to the next agenda item? Item number 5 is the confirmation and adoption of the last meeting's minutes, which was in September, if you can remember back. Does anyone have any objections to the minutes that were recorded? None. I move to accept the minutes from last meeting. Rita? And a seconder? Anne. Okay, great. Next, we move on to item number 6, which is the presentation of reports. Darcy has 3 reports to present here. So welcome, Darcy, and thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, the first one is I'm going to present as the Memorial Forest. Just a quick update. We are seeing a lot of plaques are getting aged and the names are getting pretty worn off. So we are in a program right now of looking at all those. Obviously, there's always a few that fall victim to the lawnmower every year too, so we replace those. But I'm working with Labitza, and we're going to update all the plaques that are unreadable, and we will get those all fixed up. Wetlands, we are working on a set bench for the municipality that would be a bench throughout all the parks, and we did put some money in the budget to do a couple benches out at the wetlands. I think you guys kind of got an email from Hannah there, but we did run a program through the Parks and Rec out at the wetlands with the bird feeding, and it was a huge success. And it was awesome to see, which was great. And we will continue with the Phragmites spraying this year. That's also in the budget to continue that out at the wetlands. So those are and then trails, we are working on a Parks and Trails master plan. We will be asking the committee for some information and to be part of that once we get there. Right now, we're just going out for a consultant to get a consultant hired, and then we'll work through the Parks and Trails master plan. So that's a really exciting project for the municipality, and I think the committee will play a big role in getting that to where we want it. So that is pretty much my updates on those 3 agenda items. Gladly take any questions.
I have a trail question. Apparently in all trails, I don't know how this got there or who submitted it, but all trails refers to the trail as the Lions Loop. And the trail is the West Perth Nature Trail, and the little trail over in the Lions Park is the Lions Loop, not this whole trail.
Okay. Well, and where was that it referred to the Lions Loop?
On the All Trails app.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who submitted to All Trails, but
I don't know either, but maybe my department can kind of take it on and see if we can get that changed over.
yeah, and it doesn't. What I saw, I didn't go right into it, but I only saw like the part of the trail north of the dam. I didn't see the trail that goes out to the woodlands and the wetlands. I didn't see that there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Jerry wants to know if he's allowed to speak to this.
Certainly.
Sure.
Don, if he can.
yeah, Gary's here to assist. I think so. Sure.
He's been involved in the trails forever, so.
Okay, so here's the thing. The loop that goes around the mill pond, which let's say starts at the dam, comes along the east side of the West Perth Thames Nature Trail up to Henry Street, across the bridge, through the new I call it the Gaffney through the Gaffney Heath section there, back down to the Lions Park on the west side of the trail and back down to the dam. So that's a loop around the mill pond. That's what's referred to on All Trails app as the Lions Loop, when in fact it is the mill pond loop. So the West Perth Trail on the right, on the east side of the river of the mill pond, the Lions Loop is on the west side of the mill pond, but the loop that goes around is just the mill pond loop, really. And that's what it should be referred to, not the Lions Loop, or not the West Perth Thames Trail loop, or
Well,
or
it's part of the West Perth
it's
Thames
part of
Trail.
it's part of the trail, the West Perth Trail. It's part of the Lions Loop, but it's not that. The whole loop is the mill around is the mill pond loop, really. So does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, I'm getting.
And what was referred to as the Lions Loop is just the part in the Lions Park.
Right,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Okay, well, what we'll do, I'll take that on with my department and try to get that changed in the All Trails, and we can always, I'm sure I can count on you guys to, if I have to message you to get confirmation that we got everything right, we may use you guys for that, if that's cool.
Yeah, maybe we should pop over and.
Well, that's
Sure.
I think
But there's also the southern section of the trail.
but it was and that's
Yeah.
and that's the West Perth
Yeah.
Trail.
And one part of the Parks and Trails master plan is to get a better mapping of the trail system, whether it be a backpack GPS or something, and get the whole trail system a better map for us to use. And that's going to be part of the consultant's work in the Parks and Trails master plan as well. So that will help. But for right now, change on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I get the other thing? He has let me know.
I'm at a meeting right now. I can't. Just take a message.
Graffiti company, try to get that cleaned up. Unfortunately, it was just too cold and they were crazy busy. I guess the graffiti world is a real busy world right now, but there is Goodbye Graffiti out of London. They're a good company. A couple of my colleagues in the recreation world have used them and said they're awesome. So we're going to plan to have them there early spring to get that graffiti all cleaned up and see where we're at once they've gone through. So just as an update when people have seen that. Unfortunately, we just can't do it right this second, but we'll get it done as soon as we can.
Good.
That's all. Oh, Don.
Darcy, I want to get back to the benches.
Okay.
Last I recall, I think you and Jeff were going to choose a bench.
Yeah.
And we had ordered 3, I think, that were supposed to be planted last fall. We have a new budget. We could get double that number now, can we? Have you guys made a choice is the point?
I guess my answer is I haven't quite made a choice. I did get one from Elliot Foss actually the other day that I really like. The only problem is it's about a 9-month. If we ordered them today, it would be about September that we get them. So, which is kind of a pain, but if we get the right bench, and hopefully things will get better as we go along. But I guess my answer right now is I haven't completely, but I hope to in the next 2 weeks have a bench set and ready to go. That's going to be our standard, and then start ordering them. We also have an accessible pathway at the Category Pavilion this year that also will have benches, and so that needs to be done soon too for the tendering process. So there definitely will be some benches picked out very, very soon.
Okay, and back to the budgetary item. We don't know anything about budget this year. Can we assume that it's rolled over from last year and we can buy the benches that we need for the wetlands?
Yes, yeah, we are rolling that over. I don't know, are we presenting the budget today, Jeff, at all? Or?
Yes.
So
yes, we're gonna present the budget, Darcy, and we did roll last year's money, and we added additional for this year. I'll present the budget later, and I'll probably need some input from Darcy to present that. Darcy, I sent you the Excel file.
Okay, perfect. Yep. So yeah, we can talk about that when we present the budget. But yeah, I think the answer to your question is yes. We are rolling the money over, and we'll have some money to get some benches at the wetlands this year.
Okay, and I think Rita has a point. Except she's not talking.
You've got to get on.
She's talking,
Thank
but there's
you.
nothing.
That's
There
okay.
we go.
Ann and I were discussing, thank you, Ann and I were discussing the wetland area. When you go from the actual wetlands down into the forested area, we've seen a lot of people going down those hills that are, you know, a little older, and we were wondering about possible stairs for going down that hill, whether it's in the middle or whether you have two at the end. But if we can have one set of stairs to go down, just a thought.
Okay.
Just because sometimes it's very slippery, especially in the spring going down that. I know you can go all the way to the end and go around, but there are a lot of people that just go down the hill, and it can be a little treacherous in the spring when it's still a little wet. So
Okay.
just a
Yeah.
thought.
Look, oh, Hannah, do you have something there? Go ahead.
I was going to say that's a really interesting suggestion. Thank you, Rita, for bringing it forward. I definitely think that there's some issues around stairs that should be considered, like liability, accessibility, and that sort of thing. That might be something that we would be able to talk more about and see a location for maybe like a more permanent trail area to go down there. That is such a steep hill, you're right. And in the summer, there isn't so much damage because it's mostly vegetation covered, but in the spring, it's slippery. There's chance for erosion. So I'd love to talk to you more about that, and we can make maybe a better informed decision about what would be the best course of action to go forward with that. What do you think about that?
Good idea. I just wonder. I just wonder if there's also liability if somebody were to slip down that hill. That's all. I mean, just a thought.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great point. Yeah, I think if you can just leave it with us as staff, we can look at that and
that's fine.
with some options for sure. That's all. Anybody else? Any other questions for me? I think you're good, Hannah. We can move to the next one.
Okay, thank you, Darcy, for presenting your updates and reports on the Memorial Forest and Wetlands and Trails. There's some really exciting points there that I'm happy to see come to fruition. So thank you so much for your hard work on that. I also wanted to welcome to this meeting, Bert. Hi, Bert, welcome. So glad you're here.
Time to get on every meeting we have the same problem. I have the same problem. We don't. I only have one question. Is Murray the chair?
Oh,
I was nominated as the chair, Bert. So I am the new leader of this crew, I guess.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, talking about stairs down to that Leeward lot, I'm sure that if we had $20,000 to spend on those stairs, we would be more than happy to put them in, but they're extremely expensive to put up. I'll tell you that.
Okay, wonderful. So I guess we'll move on to the next report, which is when oh, sorry, Jeff.
So Hannah, can I just have a moment? I just want to check in. Murray, we're having trouble with you. You're not hearing, we're not able to hear your sound. Are you hearing us? Murray, are you hearing us? Yeah.
I see you.
Yes, I'm hearing two all the time. It's looping. There's like a delay. So I'm getting voice, and then 2 minutes later, I'm getting voice, and it's all.
Oh.
How's my voice coming
I'm
over?
still hearing the meeting.
Okay. So we heard you, Bert. Murray, we'll send you instructions on your email about a call-in number. If you want to call in on your phone and you can listen to the sound, and then you can turn the sound off on your, you can just mute and we'll send you a call-in. Okay, I'll send you an email right away.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so okay, we can move forward with the next report, which is one that I'm presenting about the Healthy Forest campaign. So as you know, last year we were generously in $5,000 from Earth Corporation to continue on the Healthy Forest campaign project, which is a tree planting incentive program. So we worked with Assaubal Bayfield Conservation Authority, Ian Jean, and Upper Thames River Conservation Authority oh my gosh, his name is escaping me now, but we decided to do a grant of $5 for a large stock tree. So that's either ball and burlap or bare root, large trees, and 25 cents per seedling. So the first amount of money for that $5,000 went out to a Sauble Bayfield in the fall. They have a fall tree planting program. So they were able to spend around $500 of that money. And a number of landowners were able to plant trees. I think there was about 8. And then this spring, I've talked to both of them so far. And John Enright is the other guy's name from Upper Thames River Conservation. And they are both going to be able to spend the $2,500 that we allotted for both CAs. So those are landowners in West Perth that are planting trees through the conservation authorities and receiving this grant as an incentive to plant more trees. This is to increase our forest cover in West Perth. As you know, we have very, very low forest cover in our municipality. And this grant has been extremely well received. There's waiting lists for people, and I'm hopeful that we can continue offering this grant moving forward. I don't have the final numbers of how many landowners and how many trees so far for each conservation authority, because the tree planting deadline closes February 28th. So once I have full numbers and a summary, I'll be able to send it to everybody and present it at our next EFT meeting. So does anyone have any questions about the Healthy Forest Grant? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to the 5th report, which is environment.
Okay, I'm wondering what the plan is this year for the excuse me, for the Phragmites and the knotweed.
I can answer that question through the chair. We're going to do the same spraying. So we've put in the budget, and when I present the budget, I was going to mention that we've used the last 3 years kind of average for the amount that we put into the budget, and we've got frag spraying. It'll be again the same time of year, which is about September, late August or early September, and we'll work with the Conservation Authority on the next increment of knotweed control.
Okay, I also want to report that we have a new species, a giant hogweed.
That's nothing new.
And in our area, and it's back the river near the golf course. And Upper Thames was notified about it last summer, and he tried to come in by land because it's along the river, and there's a big, just a second, and there's a big natural area with. He said it was all too bumpy and hard to get in with equipment. And the alternative was to go by water because it's right along the edge. But he said that he needs special permission to take the chemicals in a boat by water because of the chance of spilling, I guess. So basically they let the knotweed go to seed. Or not the knotweed, the hogweed, which is very toxic to people. They let it go to seed, and so now we're probably going to have more of it. So I'm not sure how we're going to address that problem. It burns people's skin, it blisters, it's
It's a serious thing.
It's worse than the past 2 noxious weeds we've had because they didn't really harm people, but this does damage to people.
Yeah, so I'll just respond in that we were aware that they were working on that site. I wasn't aware of the difficulties they had getting to it. I know they had good cooperation and in identifying it and working with the golf course. I didn't realize they had got to it. And the Conservation Authority is a real expert in dealing with that one. So I think we'll be working with them to keep on it because it is a bad one.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I have for the environment.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Patty. I also wanted to bring up on to your point about reporting invasive species. So there is a provincial reporting thing that you can do. Well, there's a number of them through the government of Ontario, and there's also one called Ontario's Invading Species Awareness Program. And through that website, you can report sightings. So this is really great too, because it helps alert the MNRF to new sightings of invasive species to help nip them in the bud before they start spreading and going to seed and that sort of thing. So thank you for bringing up that that sighting. And as Jeff said, we'll hopefully be able to work with the conservation authorities to get it removed as soon as possible.
Could you send me those links, Hannah?
For sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay. I think I have reported some in the past, but yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's really good. It's a very user-friendly experience to report invasive species. So, and there's also a phone number that you can call. So I'll send both of those to you. Okay. So that wraps up our item number 6, reports. Does anyone have any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I ask someone to move to accept the report section. All in favor? Okay, Bert, and a seconder. Dawn, great, okay, so we're on to number 7, which is other business. We'll start with a budget proposal for expanding the pollinator meadow, a presentation by Evelyn. I also wanted to commend Evelyn on her work and her initiative to put the pollinator meadow in last year. And Bert, thank you so much for all your hard work again on that initiative. So Evelyn, the floor is yours.
All right. Okay, there. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Evelyn Newman. So I was a volunteer for the committee last year, and I proposed the start of the pollinator habitats. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about the budget proposal for expanding this project. So last year was the first test of our meadows. So we planted in May. We got Bert to help us basically sow the land. And then we added the seed in May, and it grew really well. The seed mix, a lot of it was native species. There was a couple of maybe not so native species in there, but that seed was from OSC mix. But overall, the pollinator garden was pretty successful. We had a lot of bugs, birds, beneficial insects, butterflies, moths, which was really great to see that in an otherwise pretty empty area. Before it was just plain grass. It was also really low maintenance, so pretty much just preparing the land was a lot of the work. But doing a single mowing in either the fall or the spring has seemed to keep it under control. We also had a low abundance of noxious weeds and a really high diversity of flowering plants. This year we might even see more because last year we put the seed down in the spring. So some of the seed might have germinated over the winter, and we might actually see more species this year, which will be really exciting. And most importantly, we didn't have to spend as much money mowing this area. So it's going to save us a lot of money in the long term. So these are good low cost investments that are actually going to save us some money for land maintenance. Some of the things that we could potentially improve about the garden is maybe to make our lives a little bit easier. We could mow the area before we till. So if we wanted to expand on the right side, might be a good idea to go in and just cut that grass really short so that if we do have to till it, it's a little bit easier to do. One thing I also want to do is I want a little bit more community engagement and basically just make it a little bit more accessible. So the way that it is right now, it was kind of like a test site. But basically what my plan is if we could expand the other side, we could put a simple mowed trail in between. And then that way people can actually walk through and enjoy the wildflowers. Because I noticed there was little small foot trails of people trying to get in there and just see what it is. And I think that a small, simple trail would be really good for letting people engage in the space and then maybe interact with it a little bit more. And the other thing, I was potentially thinking is maybe just trying a different seed mix. The OSC mix was good, but I think we could do better. And I found a better seed mix from, it's called a company called Northern Wildflower, and they focus on native seed mixes. So they had, one has 19 species, and it's $150 for about 1,000 square feet. So it's still really cheap for that seed mix, and it might be a little bit better. than the existing seed mix that we used before. So some goals for this year. So right now the left side has been tilled and there's wildflowers growing there, but there's basically still the entire open right side. And if we could get Bert's help, I was thinking maybe we could develop that side. And the seed for that would cost about $350 to maybe $500, which is about the same as last year. I also still have some leftover seed from last year that we can help to sow that area. And then the other addition was to add just a simple mowed trail between the areas of the garden. So I know that this entire area used to be mowed. And I know there is the back ramp trail where Bert brings his truck up. I don't know if there was a way to just do a simple parking lot over to that back ramp. The other thing I was looking at was signage. So I asked Snyder's for a quote for just a simple pollinator habitat sign. So for a 2 foot by 3 foot aluminum composite sign, that's $230. If we wanted them to put in signposts for us and attach the sign to it, that's an extra $213. If we could do that ourselves, it might save us a bit of money. But yeah, it's about $230 for the sign plus HST, if that's something we wanted, just to get people to know a little bit more about this area and why it's important and why we're doing it. The other thing I was wanted to do was join with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority to maybe do some trailside planting with the high school students. But our Upper Thames conservation member is not here today. So maybe I will try to connect with him about that, just to see if we can maybe get some wildflowers planted along the new trails that we did on Henry Street. But yeah, that's my presentation. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Dandy,
Could I
I
get,
like the idea of expanding it. I think we should be able to use that whole section probably.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes sense to have a trail or two through there. Great.
could I get some more seed for this area down along the river?
Yeah, for sure.
I got mostly borage last year. And as it got bigger, it was falling over and covering up the other flowers.
Yeah.
I had to pull a lot of it out because, you know, it had taken over and was smothering everything else out. So
that's the other reason I want to try a different seed mix. The borage really dominated that seed mix, and I want something a little bit more equalized between species. So.
And I did, you know, I did get the black-eyed Susans or the Rudbeckia. I did get different things, but yeah, more diverse would be good.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Yep, Jeff?
If all the committee members had a chance to ask a question, I'll just make a couple of technical comments. And certainly, I think Darcy and myself, from a staff perspective, really love the idea. I think this is a great initiative, and want to just have a quick look at the planting areas, Evelyn, and I need to run those by Richard Wright, who is our environmental services coordinator. And there's a defined part of that property that's part of the industrial landfill, and it's okay. I think we're in a good spot, but I think I just want to get Richard's input before we go into the next step. And then secondly, on the topic of signs, I think we obviously want a sign to promote it, and I just want to I think we want to work to make all the signs have a similar look with the West Perth logo and things like that. So we'll work with you on that, and then run it through our sign project. And I know that we've been a little delayed on doing signs the last couple of years because we have other things to work on. But we want to really get down to this common branding and standardized sign look through our different West Perth assets. So we'll take that project, that sign, into that envelope, and Darcy can be the lead on making sure that that happens. So, but obviously a fabulous project, and I'm really pleased that you brought it to the committee again.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor to do this, and I'm really grateful you guys gave me this opportunity, because it's kind of a unique and rare chance, but I'm using it and running with it, and I'm going to spread it all over like seed mix. So thanks, guys.
Evelyn, I had a comment about your idea for a trail going through the pollinator garden, and I think that that's a really great opportunity to have people interact with that space. So it's not just like a dead zone.
Yeah.
People can use it to walk their dogs or just go and enjoy the pollinators. I also think that there is an opportunity here to engage the West Perth Youth Center in maybe doing plantings or even creating little pollinator like bee houses, stuff like that, and then installing them maybe along the trail to bring more education to why pollinators are important. So I'd love to talk to you more about opportunities, the engagement aspect of this land. And like Jeff said, I think once we know the boundaries better, we can maybe design a trail that goes through, and signage is great. It helps bring awareness to it. So I'd love to highlight this more in our community and make more people aware of the good work that's been done. So thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, I'd also like to take this opportunity now. I think Murray is hooked up to our audio. Nod if yes. Okay, so I'd like to welcome him now to the committee, and I'm offering you an opportunity to introduce yourself and to maybe discuss why you're interested in the Environment, Forestry, and Trails Committee.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the kerfuffle. I was getting the original sound from you good folks, as well as the what the public, I guess, was hearing 2.5 minutes later. So it was all coming in at once, and it was really hard to decipher who was saying what and what was going on. So anyway, I had to get a hold of Jeff, and he helped me because I'm not really good with my technical stuff. So thank you very much for having me as part of your group. I do think it's important that we look after what you good folks are doing. It's just very worthwhile, and I'm glad to see people are involved with it, because we need people involved to move ahead with things. So I'm still rather new to this. I really didn't know a whole lot about this, but I'm learning. So with your patience, hopefully I can become an asset to you. Thank you.
Welcome, Murray.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good to be here. Better late than never.
Great. Well, thank you. We're so happy to have you. I think everyone on this committee is dedicated to making our community a better, healthier, more beautiful place. And so we're so excited that you're interested in joining us. All right. We'll move on to the next item. Does anyone have any more questions for Evelyn?
Can I have a question? I have a question. It's about the trails more so than anything, because I was a half an hour late trying to get on. Who has the right to name the Lions Circle, that Lion Circle?
So Bert, to bring that up, if you're just talking about the All Trails app, I think what happens is anyone who uses that app can put new trails in, add photos, add names of places. So I think whoever put that name in probably just didn't understand the actual names of the places. So it should be something as easy as just contacting customer service for that app and making the change.
The big problem is our Rotary Club spend a fair bit of money on paving the trails from the medical center to the dam, and they kind of frown on calling it the Lions Circle because of what we spend on the east side of the river. So I'm quite happy with the Lions Circle if that's what makes you happy. I know different places call it the Lions Circle, so if you want to do that, that's fine with me. But they just wondered what was happening with who made that change and how that happened.
And Hannah, through you, Chair Hannah, we're going to get used to that. I just want to make a comment that, and I'm sure Darcy's going to add to this too, the Parks and Trails Master Plan really needs to come up with identifying which trail segments provide what level of service, what their treatment is, how we describe them to the public, what the sign's going to look like, and most importantly, what the name is. And we'll be, we got to work through that process because in the absence of a broad plan, we have a lot of local names and a lot of confusion about what the real name is. So I think you're going to see us step forward through the Parks and Trail Master Plan process to really affirm what our park categories are, what our trail categories are, and what their names are, and then follow that up with reinforcing signage. We've reached that point that we need to get to that level of detail so that there's less confusion. And we have this world-class trail network. It's time to elevate it and sign it and promote it. And that plan is a plan that came out of a Recreation Leisure Services plan. And it's the last major project we'll do before we update the Recreation Leisure Services plan. So that's our big project. Darcy mentioned it earlier, Bert. That's a big project for 2022. And we'll be consulting this committee in detail when we get in working on that plan.
Some of the people that have lived here a long time made a comment about maybe you could call it the Mill Pond Circle. It's pretty, everybody knows where that is. So anyway, we're not against the Lions, but Mill Pond might be a good suggestion.
Jeff, for the overall trail, our committee years ago named it the West Perth Thames
Nature Trail. Thames Nature Trail.
Thames, isn't it West Perth Thames Nature Trail?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we have multiple signs at the entrances to the trail in different places. We will be keeping that name for overall, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think that, and this was the question that came up earlier that Dawn answered, and I was in and out a little bit, but I think that there's a mini loop, there's like a miniature loop inside that, which is the Lions Loop. And,
Yes.
and I think we just need to get that Lions Loop labeled within the overall West Perth Nature Trail Loop. So we've got these side loops that have names, and this kind of confusion is going to happen, especially when you have an app where people get to name it. So this is what I think we want to really nail down, and we'll consult this committee, obviously. And I think there'll be a bit of public consultation, at least through council engagement, on naming these assets that respects the history, but also sets the name that we want to use from here on forward.
Yeah, well, there's like the Stacy Park Loop, and
yes,
it is. There's a lot of loops within the main trail, but I think we should keep the main trail name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think we're anticipating renaming that main trail name, Patty. I think we would go back to the obvious names that are there, and provided that they're suitable names and they properly describe the asset. Those historic names are going to be what we would want to stick with, and this is the process we've got to go through. We got to get them mapped better, get the inventory created, categorize them, and then start a signage and promotion process.
Yeah, I could see it kind of like the provincial parks do, where it's a full trail. They have loops in it that may be 1.5 kilometers, and it'll take you 25 minutes to walk type thing, and advertise it that way. So if someone wanted to walk the Stacy Park Loop, they could walk the Stacy Park Loop and would be signed and that kind of stuff. But I think the overall trail name for sure is going to stay the West Perth Thames Nature Trail.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Is there any other questions about trails or the pollinator garden before we move ahead? Seeing none, I will welcome Jeff Brick to present the 2022 budget.
Great, thanks. I just want to speak to the budget in the sense that we've brought forward all of the projects from the previous year, including bringing forward, for example, the budget we had set aside to do benches, and then added additional to it. The budget form, we've done quite a bit of moving it around, and obviously when you get a new treasurer and it's time to kind of update the processes and update the way we're coordinating department budgets, and we're also changing software. It's not the prettiest to look at right now. So I'm going to share my screen and talk about a few of the categories and just ask Darcy, I may need your help in a couple of these, and we may need to call the treasurer and get clarifications for some of the others, but I'll just, I'll do my best with kind of pointing this out. So is everyone able to see an Excel spreadsheet?
Excuse me, Jeff, I have to leave. There's a truck sitting at the barn. We gotta load pigs. See ya.
See you, Bert.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll be really quick because I think we're almost on time. So our energy, so our budget includes money for the trail. We've done some renaming. We've included projects from the past. Yep.
We can't see your screen if you think that we can.
Oh, thanks. I'll try to share it again. Thanks, Darcy. Let's try that again and share. How about this time?
That's better.
Yeah,
No,
the gremlins are
I've
in.
lost nearly everybody.
Oh,
I've
so
got Jeff and Hannah and Dawn and myself.
so what you'll have, Patty, is do you see the screen that the Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I'll go through the spreadsheet really quickly, and then at the end, I'll unshare my screen and the whole group, the whole array will come back.
Oh, okay.
Everybody else is still on the meeting. They're just not showing on your screen.
Okay.
So we brought forward all of the amounts that we've had in past years, but one thing we've done is we've moved, for example, the rural roots forestry money from this budget to the donations budget, and we've made a few changes like that. We haven't pulled any money out. We have moved it around to a few other areas where it fits better. For example, and one thing I would just highlight is that the North Nature Trail, which is an old-fashioned name that we have in our system, we called that repairs and maintenance, and that repairs and maintenance category is now what we've got in there because that's where we were putting money to maintain that trail. And I really think the key thing to highlight about the budget, without getting into specific details, is that we left money in for things like Phragmites and for knotweed control. We've left the money in for the benches. We showed the money from last year will go to a reserve so that it can be brought forward and used again. And we have money in the budget for the, and Darcy, you're gonna have to help me. Where did we include money for the pollinator project? Or because we had it in last year and we were going to just bring it forward. Did it come through in maintenance?
Yes, I believe it was in the maintenance for the trail.
So we would have enough money in that maintenance budget to be able to cover the purchase of the seed and the minor expenses of that project as a maintenance item rather than having it have its own line in the budget. So, and finally, and Patty, this one, we've left money in for the spring cleanup. It wasn't used last year or the year before because of the pandemic. I think that we certainly have that money in the project and hope that we see some, and perhaps if you've got plans to do that, or any ideas about whether that's the right amount of money or whether you want to scale it down, we should hear from you. But we just brought forward the money from last year.
I thought there was more than that.
$1,100 is what
Oh.
we have in. The 2022 budget allocation is $1,100.
Oh, I'm looking at 210. Okay.
Yeah, that was what we actually spent in 2019.
Oh,
was
right, that's
$210.
Okay.
Okay.
Not
Great.
used to looking at these things. Yeah.
Yeah, no
That'll
problem.
be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I apologize. That was I actually got an early start this morning. I was going to throw a few slides together to highlight this, but it didn't happen. And so I ended up showing you the spreadsheet, which is a bit confusing. That wasn't the plan, but that's what we came to.
So the another thing, are we putting anything in for another water station, another water refill station?
You're talking the one at the Welcome Center or an additional one?
Probably
did-
one at the Welcome Center would be.
So we did purchase the the refill station in 2021, and it's in the arena. It's going to be installed in 2022, and there's money in the repairs and maintenance to do that. But it is already purchased, and it was purchased out of the 2021 budget.
It's going to the Welcome Center,
Correct. Yeah.
and there is one at the ball fields.
Correct. Yeah.
At
The road, the one at the Kinsman, and it is in and installed.
That it has been installed.
Yeah.
So is it taken down for the winter? Because
It's winterized and covered, but not taken down.
Jerry and I went to look at it and we couldn't see it anywhere.
Okay, I can send pictures, but yeah, it's there. It's right on the end, basically between the two washroom doors. It's right in the middle.
Okay.
But it is covered right now. I can't remember exactly how they covered it, but they covered it over for the winter. And it is winterized, but it'll be back going this spring.
So we'll have the one at the ball fields, the one at the Welcome Center, and one at the arena.
Yeah, and there will be one put into the tender for the Kinsman or the Ketterson Pavilion when that's built too. So
right. So that would be 4.
And the 5th one will be, we have put one in the overhang in the municipal office in the section between the fire hall and the new municipal office. There's an overhang there, and we put a water bottle filling station there as well because we anticipate there'll be some traffic through there.
Okay, so there'll be 5.
There'll be 5 pretty accessible ones.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, can you send us a budget?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can send it to you. And certainly if you have more questions about it, please ask. The budget gets presented to council on February 22nd as a draft. And then we can make additions or revisions up until we go back to council to approve the budget on, I believe it's March 22nd. So, or March 21st. So if we've missed anything or there's anything logically that we should have had in there from previous years, if committee members have a number, just let us know, and Darcy and I will see if it's been included in another budget or whether we need to include it in this budget.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring that in the final. So we'll send that out to you all.
Thank you.
I'll ask Lisa to help. I'll get it over to her. So, all right. And just to wrap that up, then when you see this budget, I've got, it's part of the economic development budget. So I'll probably hide the economic development rows because it'll just add confusion. We'll just include the environment, forestry, and trails budget, and we'll get that away to you in the next day. Again, if you have input, please ask Darcy and myself. And thanks for following along. I know that spreadsheet's not the best thing to show on a screen.
No.
Thanks.
So just a quick question. Does that mean wait to order seed until the budget is approved?
I would say no, Evelyn. If the committee supports the project and if the committee has, Hannah, did you get a mover or seconder, and did you vote all in favor for the pollinator project and the budget? Because if you've approved it, then it's approved. We've got that amount in the maintenance. Yeah, in the maintenance budget, and we could, you could go ahead.
Okay, did we pick like a cap number for that?
So 2 things on that. Number 1, if you can get a budget estimate amount, and perhaps we had about 500 last year. Was that going to be what you anticipated cap was again?
So yeah, we had 500 for the seed. I think that's more than enough to cover the cost of seed. It's the sign that might cost a little bit extra, but I can't see it costing more than like 800 total with the sign included. So
I'm going to look to Darcy to answer the question about whether that sign would be in this budget or whether we could find another budget for it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was going to jump. I think we can leave the sign out of this budget and keep the seed. And I think the sign can go through the whole Parks and Trails signage budget. So I think we can go ahead with the 500 for seed and have the signage. I can look after the signage basically.
Good. Okay. And I just would like to mention on the seed, then, if you could coordinate with either Hannah or Darcy the ordering, because we should pay for that seed directly from the municipality, and then we receive a rebate on the HST. We receive almost all of the HST back, and it comes through our books cleaner. So if you can just, if you want to figure out the seed order and then share what the estimated invoice is going to be and who the contact is, we can actually order it and have it delivered.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for Jeff on the budget for 2022? Okay, seeing none, we will go to the third subcategory of this item before we vote to move. And the third item is the 2022 meeting schedule. I don't know who's presenting that.
I can present it. It's listed in the agenda as a matter of disclosure. And if anyone has any input on those dates or any of the dates that are concerning, and now I can't find them, I've lost that document. Libitsa, do you have the document open and could just mention the dates? I've lost my document, it's down.
Yeah, I can share, but just give me a second.
Yeah, sorry about that. I closed the wrong one.
I have it open here. The dates
Okay,
are
please.
May 18th, September 21st, and November 16th. Okay, seeing no rebuttal to the Patty.
Okay, having it in May puts it after the cleanup day. Cleanup day is towards about the third weekend of April. If I have any questions regarding that and there's no meeting, what do I do?
So perhaps,
Jeff?
Chair, I'm just going to, perhaps we want to add a meeting in, and Patty, would you identify a time? We do have a 3-month gap between meetings there, which we could revise the schedule to add a meeting in April and a meeting in June. Would that be a better? So take the May 18th out and replace it with one earlier and one later. Or even just maybe move that May 18th meeting earlier, and then we just get into project implementation mode. What's your proposal?
Perhaps make it in April.
Yeah. So
Early
looking at the April calendar, we could go for April 13th. Would that give you enough lead time to make a presentation on the cleanup and then get any last feedback?
Yes. Yeah.
So to the chair, I think if you want to take that as a motion to amend the schedule so that the May 18th meeting is moved to April 13th. And if you get a mover and seconder and pass that, then you can modify that schedule.
Oh, Patty, before we move that, did you have something else to say?
No, I'm just moving motion.
Okay, so we'll move to change the date of our next meeting to April 13th and then another meeting in June. Do I have a mover?
Actually, just Hannah, just before you get that, I think the way we left it is we'll move the May 18th meeting to April 13th only and not replace it. And then on April 13th, the committee could decide if they wanted to add a June meeting. But I think from past experience, we haven't needed that meeting. Sorry, didn't make that clear.
No, thank you for your input. Okay, so we will move to have a meeting on April 13th. Patty and a seconder, Dawn. Great. I guess at this time we can also move to accept the budget proposal from Evelyn for the pollinator garden and the budget. Rita, move, second by Patty. Okay, does anyone have anything else that they want to bring up before we move on? No, okay, great. Seeing none, we will move to item number 8, which is correspondence. I don't know who is presenting any correspondence. I have none, as just just coming into this role. Does anyone have any correspondence they'd like to share?
Yeah, I don't think there was any.
Yeah, I don't think I received any correspondence for the committee.
Okay, great. And no announcements either? No. Okay. So notice of motion. Can we move to conclude this meeting? Murray, thank you, and a seconder. Anne, thank you, Anne. Okay, so our next meeting will be April 13th. Lupita, I'm assuming it will be virtual again. Maybe not, maybe?
Actually,
Yes, it will be April 13th Zoom meeting again.
and we'll make a decision on whether it's virtual or not, everyone. I think that, and I will mention to the committee, I have this good opportunity. We probably will be back to in-person meetings, but I anticipate the staff recommendation will be that we will offer a virtual meeting option to any committee, council member, member of the public, to any meeting going forward, perhaps as a permanent fixture. But certainly for the balance of this term of council, I think you will see a virtual option, but there will be, I would think, an in-person meeting the next time.
Great, that's awesome news. Okay, well, we will adjourn this meeting then at 10:08 a.m. I encourage all of our members of our committee to reach out amongst one another for help if you need help arranging any meetings or have any questions. I'm always here if you need an idea to bounce off of before the next meeting. So we're adjourning 10:08 a.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you for nominating me for this role as chair, and we will see you soon.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
And let's get a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting, please.
I'll move it.
Dawn's moving it, seconded by Marie. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.